Hello everybody and welcome to the explanation video on Nomad mode in Runescape. No, Nomad mode is not an official game mode, but it's just a different way of playing the game. Some of you may know the term special snowflake accounts, which means none other than accounts who differentiate themselves by playing with self-imposed restrictions or limitations. Nomad mode is exactly that, so let me explain to you what the rules of Nomad mode are. A nomad is a person that travels from place to place and who does not stay in the same place for an extended amount of time. Another word for nomad is a wanderer. So how is this implemented in the game of RuneScape, you may ask yourself? Aren't you constantly traveling and exploring anyway? The world map of RuneScape is just like any game divided in squares. Small squares, like the tiles you walk on, but many of those tiles combined form map chunks. A chunk is a map square of 64 by 64 tiles. Now, one old school RuneScape player named Guy was the first person to come up with a game mode based around these chunks, which he called Chunkman mode. In this game mode, Guy was area restricted to just his single chunk until he completed every single piece of content in that particular chunk. This includes getting the levels to gather whatever resources there are to gather, getting the levels to be able to use these resources, obtaining all best in slot gear from monsters in the chunk, and completing all quests and achievement diaries for as far as you can. Only after all of that he could expand his playing field and randomly pick one of the chunks connected to his current one. Oh okay, so Nomad mode is Chunkman mode, but in RuneScape 3 then? Well, not exactly. I wish it would have been as easy as that, but I have put a lot of thought into it. And the problem is that in RuneScape 3 there is a lot more content, which makes the game world very clustered. By that I mean that there are all sorts of things in the most random places. For example, the entrance to Varago and the Invention Guild, which are located in a free-to-play area near Falador. Also Shattered Worlds, which is located in Lumbridge Swamp, another free-to-play area. And there is no way that you're able to complete content like that in these early game chunks. But then the issue came up of how am I ever going to move to another chunk if I can't fully complete any? Well, boys and girls, this is where the nomad part is important. Since I have to travel around, I decided to restrict myself to 1 hour of playtime in a chunk before being obligated to move to the next one, and so on and so on. Of course, next chunks will be picked randomly by a tool, so that I have no idea where I will be going. By picking the possible next chunks, I will do it according to these couple of requirements. Number 1, the most self-explanatory, is that a chunk can be picked if it is adjacent to the previous one, and the bigger part of the chunk is accessible. In the example on screen now, I would not be able to travel from Draenor Manor to Falador, as all the content in that Falador chunk is not accessible due to the wall being in the way. Number 2. Since I have to be on the move and can't retrace my steps, I cannot directly go back to a previous chunk right away. The same chunk will be accessible again when I've been through at least 2 different chunks. The only exception to this is when I find myself trapped in a dead end, with no other ways of going anywhere. Number 3. If there is a meaning of transport accessible in the chunk, I can use it to travel to chunks much further away. This includes, but is not limited to, ships, canoes, gnome gliders, wilderness portals, and even lodestones. For lodestones though, I can only use them if they are in my chunk and to travel to any other lodestone that has previously been unlocked. Number 4. Talking about these transportation methods, I will not be able to use the same kind of transportation twice in a row. Any other kind of traveling must be done before this transportation method will be available again, such as traveling on foot, for example. That's about it for Nomad mode. There's no clear end goal since the adventure is so unpredictable and will be different for everybody who attempts this. I decided to start the challenge as a hardcore Iron Man, to add the extra suspense for when RNG leads me inside the wilderness for hours or so, which would be very interesting. If you made it to the end of the video and are interested to watch me play through the adventure, please find the link to the first episode in the description. Thanks for watching.